In my case, I work in 3 countries that are in the global south, India, Pakistan, and Myanmar. And so a large part of my audience is there, although there is a Western audience or a global North audience that is interested in those countries. Most of my books and most of my articles are read by people who are in those countries because my research reflects directly their situation on the ground. So if you look at the audiences, they sort of fall into 3 categories. In the first case, I write for policymakers, and policymakers in the global south tend to look for material online. They don't have large budgets to buy expensive books, and it's easier for them to just be able to download stuff and then use it. And I do know that in the case of some of my articles, as opposed to the books, which were open access, they actually fed directly into policy. My open access books came a bit late. In Myanmar, we've had a coup, and so that takes me directly to the second category of audience who read my work, which is ordinary people who just want to know more about their own country and perhaps the take that other people have on their country. And I do a lot of collaborations with local researchers. And so it's also showcasing the work of some of the local researchers. And so the ordinary population in a case like Myanmar is able to download open access work, whereas there are no bookshops open at the moment, especially in a country which has now descended into civil war. And then as a third category of your audience is I tend to want my respondents to be able to see what I've done with what they've told me. So about 90% of my work is based on field work. And so if I were to try and send everything I write to absolutely everyone that I've spoken to, that would become completely impossible. But what is possible is to propagate a link and to send that, and people are able to download. So depending on your audience, the broadest audience access is when you don't have to pay for a book. And so this knowledge is propagated more widely, and it also has a much, much bigger impact at policy level, but also ordinary people being able to see what you've written, and it feeds into local debates and it feeds into local discussions. And so I do see open access as almost a moral right way forward, rather than getting publications to bring money in. It sort of falls into both the argument of affordability and access. And affordability is a wider issue because not only in the global south, but also, for example, student populations or ordinary people who, in a cost of living crisis, might have to choose between a meal and a book, but might still enjoy reading. So they should have access to the knowledge as well, particularly knowledge that is publicly funded. But access, in particular, in areas where either remote regions or conflict affected, internet might be a problem, but internet is still on phones is more easily accessible than bookstores. So in that sense, it's both the issue of affordability and access.